Good evening, everybody. Monday night therapy session is in progress. Welcome, everyone. Please take a seat and sit down, and we will do our best to entertain you, and you can get the grievances off your chest in over the next hour, and we can come through this together as one united front. So it's not all doom and gloom, lads. How are we?
EJ, you go first, mate. I'm just muting so that I could cough, Tiggs. We're all right. We're all right. You know what? The sun came up on Sunday. Yeah. There's still plenty of positivity around. I've got a bit of uber positivity later. So let's just get through this and we'll be okay. We'll be okay.
Okay.
I had my son's 17, so I did a beautiful paella, and for those that follow me on Twitter would have seen that. And yeah, it was delicious. I just had it's a beautiful meal because you can add I've got a set of ingredients that I have to use, but it will feed. It fed 16 people, and we still had leftovers. So it's it's a great dish. And you're right. Look, taking the emotion out of it, we're still a lot better than what people look. I'm not going to go into the data now, but we've won third most quarters. We've been in front 12, 13 games. So a lot's going right, but yeah, it was pretty fucking shit on Sunday. Let's just call it what it was. It was pretty shit on Saturday.
It wasn't good, which we'll get to shortly. Nathan wants to know: was it seafood paella?
No. I grew up. My family roots are from a province called Palermo in Spain. It's near Madrid and Malaga. It's like sort of sandwiched to the bottom right hand side of it. So we're fortunate in our province. We have beef. We have beef, chicken, pork, and fish. So that's generally all the four meats that I use. It's just I didn't get the beef in there. I forgot to put the peas in there because I was under pressure and I was still digesting from what happened Saturday. So it wasn't my best one. It was still lovely. Everyone enjoyed it. But, yeah, no, seafood, there's no real such thing as a pure seafood paella within Spain. There probably might be an odd village or town that might do it, but that's more of a Western creation. It's like, I have to say, if you Google paella recipe, fucking ignore everything you read. Like, seriously, just ignore it. It is, and what's sad is Spanish chefs recommending shit that no Spaniard would cook on. Yeah, it's pretty shit. It can be carrot if you like.
I think a few people said that, Laurie. Joe, yep, this is definitely on tonight. We are live right now, my friend. Thank you for joining in. It's a cooking show now. Well, we did say, I'll joke off air, that we could do a live cooking show with Tiggs. He might rival Gordon Ramsay in the swearing department, which would be interesting. But, yeah, there we go. All right. Is there anything else we need to touch on first before we get stuck into it?
Yeah, all right. Do you want me to start off so everyone's uplifted and then peter off? I've got a bit of trade news, which I'll leave towards the end of the show to make sure those pricks stay till the end.
Well, no, leave the good stuff to pick everyone back up after we've
Yeah. But I'd like to clarify one thing that I've been strong on since the get-go. And anyone that missed Neil Baum's comment has reaffirmed everything that I've been telling all you blokes, even the ones that I rate that tell me, I've heard this news about Dusty. He's going. He didn't come to training. All this sort of jargon. Dusty's not leaving Richmond. Period. Just forget it. Don't put a trade scenario in with Dusty going. The only way I can see it happening, if something hugely shifts and Dusty gets a way too good offer to refuse and Richmond gets a way too good offer to refuse. And I only say that because of the age he's in. He's probably got three more years of high-quality football left in him. Outside of that, there's no chance. And Barmy himself even confirmed it was all bullshit. It's all media-driven rubbish. And I hope some of these media experts are held to account because it's one of those rare occasions that a media person started it, all the other media people hopped onto it, and no one confirmed, no one listened to the facts when they were told, even by Sydney, no, we haven't even had a discussion with Richmond. And they kept on going and they kept on going and they kept on going. And they always refer Hardwick's presser where he said, if he wanted to leave, I'll go with my blessing. but ignore the second presser that he did to clarify his comments. So let's all put that to bed.
Now, Toddy fan in the comments said something about, should we worry because Caroline Wilson's on the bandwagon? We should be heartened that Caroline Wilson's on the bandwagon because she's never bloody right.
She never gets – look, can I tell you something? For those in the know would know that what I'm going to say is 100% right. She hasn't had mail from the club for years, right? She's bitter about it. But she hasn't had true inside mail. She used to back in the Daphne days, but hasn't had it for years. And the other thing, Peter, in relation to Barm, why I back Barm up here, Barm will tell you Monte Carlos about players where you're targeting, player injuries, and all that sort of stuff, but he never lies about a player. Right? So, no, I don't think he was selling porcupines.
Would you bet your Collingwood membership on it?
Oh, well, look, I'm quite happy. I've just only got one more win to go, and we're in top 4, buddy.
Yes, I did, Tiasta. I did see that tweet regarding loyalty. Very interesting timing from Mr. Carr. Loved
it. It's all bullshit.
No, it's supporting our stance, Tiggs.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. He can't come out and say it, but Barmy did, and that's why Barmy normally loves to go in between the lines. But he was as direct as can. No, it was blatant bullshit.
Oh, good on him.
He said it's bullshit. Yeah, absolute bullshit.
I think it comes a point in time, and not just us. I think a lot of clubs are starting to getting a bit jack of some of the stuff that gets put through the media about their own players and stuff. So it's nice to see people from the clubs fight back a little bit. But, well. All right, we'll get stuck into it. So, look, we'll go full disclosure here. We're probably not going to pat everyone on the back and say, well done, good try, everybody, that there are going to be some home truths in amongst. I'm sure there's some positivity in some aspects to come from the game. But, look, some people might cop it between the eyes, and it is what it is. But some things you might agree with, some you won't agree with. But, that's the beauty of footy. Everyone's got an opinion, so...
Do we go negative first, do the negative, like, the slap embrace process? Do we do the negative first and then we do the praise, or how do you want to roll it?
Do it however you want.
Tiggs.
Hang on, I'll do the score. So Richmond 13-14-92 lost to Gold Coast 14-10-94 by 2 points after the siren. Bolton kicked 3, Rewalt 3, Cumberland 2, Arts, Edwards, Graham, Pickett short with 1 each. Interesting game. Like, I haven't seen a lot of it because I was out working, but even after the final siren had gone, my phone was telling me there was 0 seconds left on the clock and we were 10 points up. So I was fairly shocked to hear the Triple M commentators awarding their 3 votes to match winner Noah Anderson. I'm like, what's happened there? So to see that upon reflection, Tiggs, very disappointing to have lost that lead. And I know we'll probably touch on the frequency of it a little bit later, but it's starting to become alarming. But what did you make of the game? Where did it all go wrong?
All right. Well, I'm going to focus on the negative and also a clarification if I can, right? Like, anyone that follows me on Twitter, I'm how I tweet is how I am, right? I'm an emotional bloke, but I tend to try not to mince my words. But even though socials and shit is not my forte, I'm more of a verbal type of guy. So, but I'm always been pretty consistent on one philosophy I've always had. I prefer to see a senior with senior players compared to kids. Now, I'm saying we're in a transition phase. If anyone thinks we're not, we are. Like, we're trying to blood in young kids, and we've got the older core. I would have been happy to see, let's say the Castagna, I'm going to address the elephant in the room, George Castagna, right, and Arts. They're 12-point turnarounds each. I'll be more than happy to see that error, that exact same error, done by Clark, done by Cumberland, which he made a few errors. I embrace those. I smile at those. But when a player has got the experience levels that they have and they continually do the same thing, game in, game out, game in, game out, and what I mean by error in the sense with Georgie in particular, because Arts is actually not a fairly bad shot. When George settles and actually goes to kick a goal, when he just stops his running at 100 miles an hour and he takes a set shot, he's actually better than 50-50. He's actually, I am more confident when he's going in for a drop punt, right? But he still has this thing that's sort of been ingrained in him. It's his biggest weakness. He always goes in 2 minds. Do I go left or go right? Am I going to run into the pocket and then check side this goal into the empty goal square? Or do I run it, make it easy, mate, and just kick the goal? Or do I handball it? And you can't have that, particularly when you're in transition from a senior core player. And in saying that, you can't have Vossen hitting blokes. So it's even Stevens for me. But I was pretty strong. I said, I don't want to see George in a Tiger player again. And what I meant, the context, and I didn't do it, so smack me. I meant for the rest of the year, right? I don't mean I never want to see him again in Richmond, forever in Richmond, burn him. So I meant mainly for this year, because the way I see this year, and I've been consistent on this at the beginning of the year, I reckon we'll make finals. Anything can happen when we're in there, but we're in a transition year. So I prefer to give kids like I've been screaming for, Cumberland. How good was he? He was aggressive. He was aggressive. He was aggressive at the ball. He had, 5 scoring shots for a first-year player, particularly too when the midfield started getting dominated in the third and fourth quarters. He was still being a target. You know what I mean? There's a lot to work there with him. We've seen the strides Hugo Ralph-Smith has made in his games. Maurice Rioli, his strides he's making. Youth gives you that lift. Daniel Rioli, he's still relatively young and he's improving. That's where we need to be. Banking on flawed geniuses. What I mean by that is George is flawed in certain areas, but elite in one or two, but he's flawed in others. I just don't want to see that type of player in our side that has no more. I can't see George improving 20% next year and 20% again. I think we know what George is going to give it. So another thing that for me, I reckon we lost Michaels before the game even started. I love Dow. I reckon he's going to be a huge player with us. But his form in the VFL has been pretty mediocre. Right, it has been. Even his recent game was pretty mediocre. So why on earth did we choose Dow to play and not Sonzi, who dominated last week? Who's a bigger body? Who's an inside?
Probably would have been largely because of who was going out. They would have viewed Dow as the closest like to like with Ross in terms of being able to win inside ball. Especially with that.
That doesn't wash with me because Sonzi's more like for Ross, just a whole lot more talented in my opinion.
The other thing is Dow has a couple of years of body maturity.
He's had the exposure at AFL level in that position.
Yeah. Again, doesn't wash with me because he had the glandular fever, which stepped him back a year. So really, for me, I really want to start doing now is pushing in the Sonzi games into the Sonzi, pushing the games in the Banks, pushing the games into Brown. I'm not saying flood us with youth because then, the season's over, but start putting games into those kids adverse to your Castagnas and your Arts of the side. That's just my opinion. At the end of the day,
I disagree, and I'll tell you why in a minute.
That's fine. Like one of the people said, opinions are like arseholes, we've all got them. It's just for me, there's good parts in our game. It's not doom and gloom. We play an attacking brand. Now, I don't know. I haven't caught up with my mate who gives me my trade goss who's in the industry. He's not sure if it's because of Teague's influence with the ball movement and how we've changed some methods of the way that we spread the ground, and that's leaving us exposed in the back half. It also, he believes that we haven't really improved our coaching in relation to the depth of talent pool that we have outside of Teague. So that's going to have a cause and effect. Also, our midfield is our weakest link. It has been all year, even with pressure in, even with Cochin in. We haven't got a young up-and-coming one or two midfielders. Hardwick's been brilliant. We've incorporated Short and we've incorporated Baker in there in spurts, but we haven't got a consistent one or two young kids, which you generally need, because Jack Graham did it for us when he went in there. He's now sort of morphing into a Lambert type, run with checking, engine type, forward half, back half, midfield, all over. So, look, there was good stuff in the game. That second quarter was electric. The first quarter was, we'll press, but we fought well. But, yeah, we can't hold on to a lead. And my belief of that is we can't control the contest. When we're getting dominated, we just can't control the contest. And so no defence in the league will defend what ball comes in. And our will discipline. That is the thing that Grimes and Short and Vlosten, it's a huge issue at the moment. Huge issue.
It is. EJ, what was your take on the game?
A lot of this goes back to injuries and personnel. And that's why there's some stats that have been put up on Twitter by some good people. That's why we're seeing what we're seeing in the second half of games. All right. Richmond have led 14 of 16 games at three-quarter time this year. And yet we sit here with a record of 9-7. That's from Andrew Reid on Twitter, AL Reid 63. Thank you. Right. 14 of 16 games we've been ahead at three-quarter time, and we're a 9-7 record. We're fading. All right. John Carr, the Holy Boot, a great Tiger. I don't think he's a Tigercast watcher, but I've known John and of John for a while. He put out a couple of tweets today. Leads we've given up for losses this year. Round 1, Carlton, we led by 21 points in quarter 4. Round 3, the Saints, we led by 25 points in quarter 3. Adelaide, 13 points in quarter 1. It is what it is. Even against Melbourne, we led by 9 points in the third quarter. Sydney, 32 points in the third quarter. Geelong, 17 points deep in the fourth quarter. And Gold Coast, 40 points. That's only 7 games, you might say. We've played, X amount. These are the leads we've nearly given up, where we've still won the game. Against the Pies, we led by 47. Start of the fourth, 22 points. The Hawks, 35 points in quarter 4, 10 points. Port, we were 26 points up in second quarter. We actually went down by 5 points before we ended up winning the game. Carlton, we led by 35 points a second time around, and it got down to as close as 8 points. The West Coast, 39 points to 11 points. We are running out of tickets in the second half. Now, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 12 out of the 16 games so far. All right? It's a massive pattern. Yes, we've had Lambert out, Prestia out, Cochin out, whatever. What that does is it sees non-full-time mids spending time in there, and in the second half is when we're getting torn apart. Our stats at halftime were okay on the weekend. We got obliterated. I like the fact that Baker and Short are going through the midfield, but when it comes to clearances and stuff like that, they're not the answer. Prestia was a one-man band on the weekend. I'm a firm believer, ill discipline and everything, if we just had Trent Cotchin on the weekend, we win the game. Like, we've got 3 more injuries this week. Every team has a tipping point, and unfortunately, with our midfield in particular, and with our aging premium midfielders, as good as someone like Shea played on the weekend, it's just not enough.
That's why I'm calling out. We need to. When 13, 14, I don't know if you guys will remember this, but 13, 14, 15, 16, that block of 4 years, right? We made hard calls. We moved on Tuck, Jackson. Those 2 players in particular were the ones that were good, honest footballers, right? But they had glaring deficiencies in their game. And then what we decided to do is bring in players such as Cochin, give them full-time minutes, Martin, give them full-time minutes. We don't have that. We don't have go-to mids because we're not playing it. We're playing in the VFL, which is great, right? Sonsy's playing in the guts in the VFL. And then he's playing it like as a defensive mid. We've got, with Mansell, for example, getting played as a defensive, as a forward now to learn whatever he needs to learn there, but as a defensive lockdown back. What I can't understand is, and this is the thing that shits me, poor selection is poor coaching, in my opinion, right? When you put Baker, knowing that our midfield is so weak, we don't have Martin, we don't have Cochin, right? Our only one legitimate midfielder on Saturday was Prestia, who's coming off a concussion, right? And he didn't have his best game. Why on earth didn't we go, okay, we need to put Baker in as a full-time support? And we've got Short in there. So let's bring Mansell in to do the lockdown role on a player like Answorth, who tore us up when Baker kept on switching in, switching out. See, the problem we've got, and this is my belief, and I'm pretty strong on this, the reason we get exhausted in the last quarters is because we're playing all these hybrid players. We're forcing players that are normally in the back half. All right, we need you to go in the midfield. So they're running a lot more than they would normally do. And by the time they get to midway through the fourth quarter, they're spent. Shea was a perfect example of that. He tried to do everything. And by midway through the third, he was cooked, literally cooked. He couldn't do much more. So we need to understand that it's not just a trend, it's a full-blown habit now that we've developed. We've gone from being one of the best last quarter sides in restricting scores against to one of the worst. And the one way for me, I believe, to fix that is cement players in their roles.
That's fine, right? But the problem is, right, at the moment, with the evenness of this season, it's still alive, right? And
It is.
well alive, right? Now, if you play, right, if you don't play Arts and you don't play Castagna, right?
Yep.
If you play two kids, we definitely don't win that game because they just don't have the bodies and the tanks and everything to go with them yet. Now, if we had no injuries, Arts and Castagna would not be in the side. We all know that. We all agree with that, right? Unfortunately, when you get to a tipping point with injuries, you just can't fill it with kids. And as much as it hurts to watch a bloody Castagna stuff that goal up, right?
Yeah,
It's there for a reason. Now, which takes me to Cumberland, right? Now, I'm going to rip this kid. It's great that he kicked a couple of goals and he presented and all that sort of stuff. The big knock on him, and everyone's been screaming, get Cumberland in, get Cumberland in, get Cumberland in. The knock on him is he's a me player and he doesn't do the defensive work, right? And that Castagna missed goal was the perfect example because who's just jogging beside the goal square as the guy runs across and smothers Castagna's kick? Cumberland is, right? He's not screaming at his teammate that he's coming hot, hot, hot. He's not demanding the ball and putting his hands up. He's just jogging along, bludgeon, right? The reason he didn't get a game is because he doesn't work defensively and he doesn't play the team game.
I love it. Can you just say that again, though? Because I'm going to show you why my view is different. I won't put words in your mouth. But what's your critique about Cumberland?
He doesn't defend.
Yeah.
And he doesn't play he's not a team player.
And he's a me.
Yep.
That's exactly what Shea used to cop. That's exactly what Shea used to cop.
Yep.
That's exactly what Rioli used to cop when he was in the forward line. That's exactly just remember in the beginning when he played. See, the thing is, as a small forward, you don't get many possessions as a small forward. So your small forwards, the reason why I like small forwards, if they're quality small forwards, the thing that gets drilled to them to be successful small forward is they've got to learn one trait, right? And that's the X factor, to be able to create something for themselves so they get rewarded, i.e. kick a goal, stay in the side. That's the quintessential, the main thing that they all develop. The maturity comes, what you mentioned, and I'm not having a go at you, Joe, I agree with you in part, but maturity comes with playing games, all right, he has a review this Monday. Direct the learnings he would have got from that, from Damien, from the leaders. Hey, you really should have shepherded for George.
He's been getting told that in the reserves, though.
No. But there's a difference between some players, and I know myself from just even when I develop staff at my work, right? Certain players retain knowledge in different environments. Some players, it's known in football. Yeah, they can get told something in VFL, but in their minds, they're just playing the twos. When they actually get their peer group that's playing seniors, giving them, you're just doing a senior review now, they listen more. They actually hear what's being said. So
that's poor mental attitude.
No.
If you're not prepared to listen because you're in the twos, that's poor mental attitude.
Okay, yeah, but people are people, right? And part of good leadership is understanding certain people tick certain different ways, right? And I could ream off Buddy Franklin, right? Buddy Franklin, one of the best centre-half forward players in the league. Wasn't a fantastic listener in the twos, if you believe what you read. So that's what my point is. I'm not saying Cumberland's Buddy Franklin, right? But what I'm saying is that these kids, like, you know what the flip side of that, Banks, he would be like a uni student at the VFL at the moment. Like Banks and Brown, they're that type that would listen and take it in as if they were in the VFL or the AFL. But it's the small forwards, the sharks, I call them, shark types, they respond in different environments, in my belief. Anyway, look, I don't want to ramble on about it, but Cumberland, to me, his game was okay. It's not. Where was Jack Rewalt shepherding for George? Where was the other forward shepherding for George? Right?
They weren't at that position in the ground, but Cumberland was.
Yeah.
Right. The thing is, when it comes to the small forwards, where's Butler playing?
Where? Butler?
Where's he?
Yeah, Butler's not a Richmond man. He's St Kilda.
Yeah.
He's playing.
Yeah. And we know why. He had more talent. He had more talent than any of the other small forwards in our system. He had the same issue. He got to a point where he was not willing to work as hard as the others. Yeah. Unfortunately, Cumberland needs to learn that if he wants to play senior football. I like his offensive abilities, and you can see it. You can see he goes to the right spots and goes like, I'm not saying he's a shit player and I'm not saying he won't make it, but the selfishness doesn't wash and it come home to roost in the second half. Because in the second half is when we needed the players that were prepared to do the team thing.
Look, I disagree in the sense that I believe younger players, particularly in that part of the game, their actions tend to respond the other players around them, right? And our leadership in that game was atrocious in the second half. Like, for example, with George, he should have kicked on before the ball was smothered. He had plenty of time to release the football.
Yep.
Either by foot through goals. So that's, yes, I hear you with Cumberland, but that doesn't excuse the poor footy IQ of George Castagna at that moment, right? But it also, in fairness, even though I was in Twitter, I was foaming. I was going, that's 12-point turnaround. And I'm blaming George, but the reality in my brain's going, well, there was, another 17 blokes able to defend that ball going through our whole entire side, But the nature of those goals, any person, 99% of the time, those goals should have been kicked. And they were all completely out of position and just got absolutely torn open. But look, one thing I want to say is Tarrant. People had been giving it to him. I actually liked he made a shocking error. And this is the thing that's shitting me in one part. I think we're lacking leadership. And look, Kocher was a shitty captain at the first couple of years because that's how you learn. You don't become Picasso at the start of your career. You get there, right? So I reckon there's a glaring gap of leadership because Tarrant really disappointed me. He played a great game. Then I think it was 2.5 minutes in, he takes a clunk, right? Takes a mark. I'm screaming, slow the fucking ball down. Kick it to Grimes. Kick it behind you. No, what did he do? He kicked it long to a contest, gave the ball back, and off they scored another goal. That really shits me. Why we're not kicking backwards? Why we're not going, you know what, they've got the ball, let's just chip it to the pocket, bounce it back, kick it to the knuckle pocket, bounce it back. We're not doing it. None of the games have we tried to slow the ball down dramatically.
It's not in our DNA. It's not in our DNA as a club, unfortunately. Just quickly, Glenn, I kind of do, but I kind of don't. I haven't seen a lot of the game because I was working and I hadn't had time to rewatch it, so I was happy for these two to take the foray on it all. The only thing I'll say, I've seen a lot of things on Twitter and socials about coaching cost us the game, selections and things like that. What I want to say to that, and it may be controversial, that same coaching also got us to 40 points ahead. So I don't know how fair it is to point the finger at that when at one point in time, those same players that were out on the ground got us to a 40-point lead. To me, it's on the players that lost the game, not the coaching, because the 40-point lead to me suggests the players were the right ones for that game at that point in time. Something changed, after three-quarter time, whatever it might have happened. Feels like a leadership issue. I agree that if Koch plays, I think, he irons it out. But that, to me, that's disappointing because these guys have all been out there long enough together. A lot of experienced guys. They've been through premierships. They know how this works. It's not foreign. It shouldn't take for one person to call it. They should have been able to be smart enough to lock that down or make the right moves. Like you said, Tiggs, kick it sideways, do whatever you have to do. I just think, maybe they're waiting for Nank and Grimes to make the call. But like we've sort of said in a few episodes this year, it's sometimes been Nank or Grimes who have made the wrong decision, whether it's a free kick or what it might be, to put us in a worse spot. So, look, a lot of it could be a bit of an educational process, but bloody frustrating.
Yeah, that last 5 minutes, which all happened after the Castagna smothered goal. Yeah. And Tiggs, you've watched the game, you would know this. The The Grimes push in the back was dumb.
Was pathetic.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
100%.
The short reaching around and giving away the 50 was dumb. The Grimes drop mark, which would have sealed the game, was uncharacteristic.
But defending the ball would have been like a cake of soap by then, I reckon.
Yeah, but it was a chest mark. He should have taken it.
Yeah, but he was going at full pace. Like, I love Grimes.
No, he was standing still. He was standing still.
No, he was running at the. He ran at the ball, and the ball went through his. He ran it.
No. Michael's Tiger. That was about 4 minutes. That was about 4 minutes to go. With about a minute and a half to go, a bomb came down, and he was under it, and it just went straight through his arms.
Okay, I must have been in shock by then. I was just.
But one of the biggest mistakes for me, right, was how did we let Ben Miller take a kick out in the last 2 minutes? One of the leaders needed to step up there and be responsible for that.
And that's what my concern is. I think a part of it, it's not the excuse. It's not the reason why we're losing by, losing these leads, but I think it's a component of the issue. I reckon we're going through new captain teething pains. That's what I think is happening at the moment. Yeah, Dylan's experienced. Yes, Nank is relatively experienced. It's their first year as being co-captains. This is the reason why I don't like co-captaincy. Maybe he's thinking you get the back half, I get the centre and forward, whatever the way it's working, but it's not working at the moment. There doesn't seem to be any direct leadership in, this is what shits me. Just watch Grimes before he got the captaincy last year. I did this. I did an exercise. I was so angry, and I thought before preparing for this podcast, I'm going to put, even in the year we were pretty shit, put a couple of games that I've seen of Dylan Grimes and have a bit of a look. In those type of environments, he's pointing. He's pointing, go here, move here. There's a lot more talk. Now he's captain. He's not doing it. I don't know why. Maybe he doesn't want to because he's captain. He doesn't want to overreach. I don't know. They've got to work it out. They've crossed that line. Captains, people follow captains that are hard, aggressive. There's that hard component. They're gone way too forward on that. They're not. Which is not naturally their game. Like Grimes pushing someone in the back like that when he knew he was already beaten for the mark, beaten for the ball, was just unlike him. So I think they've just got to realise, captain as yourselves, don't try to be something that you think you have to be. And I think that's what we're going through. We might go through it a bit again next year.
To your point as well before, EJ, with the quarters that we've lost, blown the leads, you look at just the Gold Coast, Geelong and Sydney game where we're talking a goal or less the difference. Convert just those three. Don't worry about the other ones. Convert those three, and we're sitting on 48 points, the same as other top three teams. Percentage is obviously an unknown, but the whole season flips around. All of a sudden, you're at the top of the tree. And that's the most frustrating part, isn't it? Like, all our hard work's being undone, and we could be in such a better position, and these conversations would look so different.
All right. Now, do you want some positivity?
Yep, let's get the positive stuff going.
All right. I'll do one more negative thing, because what you just said about the looking different leads me to a tweet that I saw today. One more negative thing. Last week, I said our disposal efficiency was fantastic, and 17 out of the 23 were at 75% or better.
Oh, God. Yeah, okay.
How many people went above 75% this week? Out of 23.
I haven't seen a lot, but I'll say 8.
I have no idea.
4.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Right. So, anyway, that's negative. Right. The positive. You say that the season could be different. The season can still be different. Now, I said if we beat Geelong, we'd finish top 4, and I stand by that. We would have, I reckon. We can still finish top 4. A great Tiger on Twitter, Simon Wallace, at RFCS Wallace, has said this afternoon, we can still do it. We just need a couple of things to go our way, and it's not far-fetched. First of all, we run the table. We win in every game in from here. You know, the hard games against Freo and Brisbane are over here. We just got to get past North this week. We get a couple of people back, we can do it. If the Pies lose 2 of their last 3, and they're playing some good sides coming in, if the Blues lose to the Lions and the Cats, and if the Lions get beaten by us and the D's, and the Swans lose away this week to Freo, it all relies on percentage. Top 4, here we come.
Yeah, no,
it's still alive.
Wasn't the last bit of his tweet about we'd played Geelong in a qualifying final?
Yes. And Geelong will be hosting us
Yeah, the
So we'll be
G.
playing away at the MCG. Yes.
That's the most important part of that whole thing,
Yes.
I reckon, is that it's playing them at the G. Jeez.
Yeah, look, I reckon we'll still make finals, and I reckon this is the weirdest type of season I've experienced in a long while. I reckon anyone can win it from anywhere. If you're on, you're on. So, look, I reckon we've got to get wins on the board, obviously, to qualify. If we can get Dusty showed a lot in West Coast in my mind that he's ready to prime. If we get Dusty priming, we get Cochin healthy, even as a 15-minute impact player, we've got Bolton by 3 weeks from now getting to form. Pressure, getting in sick. Yeah, we're going to trouble a lot of sides, and we've proven that by being in front so often. It's just we've just got to get our system right behind the ball when challenged with momentum. We've just got to get that system right.
We also need players back on the park. Like we've now lost both ruckmen. Nank didn't play the last 10 minutes of the game. Solder had a busted thumb. He's going to miss this week. Lynch obviously off within the first 5 minutes. Bolter wasn't in. Vlosten wasn't in. Cochin, Dusty. Like, it's a fair list. Like, I know Gold Coast are, looking to ladder underneath us, but you take all those players out of any side or those type of players, most teams would have been lucky to have been in the lead, let alone been in front by 40. Like, it still doesn't excuse the fact we blew the lead. Don't get me wrong, but the players we haven't got on the park are massive, and we're not talking 1 week, because we're talking multiple weeks that these guys are out for, and it can't be understated enough how much things will change once these guys are back in. But we've got to keep them in. We've got to, the hamstring injuries are starting to worry me, but if we can start getting the players back on the park soon and start getting the wins on the board, momentum can start to build, things start to look a bit different, and you never know where it takes us. But do I think we'll play finals? I think we will, but I think a lot has to change for us to be seen as a threat. I will say, though, and someone made a good point, that we can finish, sixth and still potentially not have to leave Melbourne, which it would mean playing a final against a Collingwood or a Carlton round one, which would be an absolute blockbuster. I don't know whether I would give us an even chance to win those games, but they're going to have crowd and momentum on their side as well. But anything can happen. We just need the players back on the park first.
Just to let people know, I just checked my email just then. Yeah, I got permission to say a name that I haven't said yet. The media hasn't even broken. So I'll share that when it's time. I'll do that tonight.
All right,
with the player that we're after.
We'll get stuck into the North Melbourne game, and I might get shot for this, but it is a danger. Really, it's a danger game, because now losing that Gold Coast game, this becomes an absolute must-win. And North, they'll be chock full of confidence after the effort against the Pies, and they nearly knocked them off. They might be exhausted as well after the effort they put in, but they'll be up and about, and they've still got a point to prove. It's going to be a big game.
Look, it is a danger game if we lairize, if our energies go, it's a danger game. Actually, let me restart. It's a danger game if we blow all of our tickets in the first half, right? Because in the first half, we could literally be 80 points up, right? But if we go to complete sleep in the last 2 halves and start to panic and lose composure, any game's a danger game with this Jekyll and Hyde form that we're showing within games. But in reality, even with our outs, like the Gold Coast games, we should have won that, even with the outs that we've got. It'd be a dark day at Richmond if we lose against the Kangas. That's no disrespect to Kangas. They're just at a different part of the bell curve, you know what I mean? They show good signs. Yes, they push Collingwood, but Collingwood will do that to you. It's the nature of how they play. It's like people used to say, why haven't we smashed sides by 100 points in our golden years? Because the way we played our game kept teams alive, even though we grinded out and end up winning towards the end. It's always that, chaos inside type of contest. We should. Yeah, I don't see across any line. Their back line's young. Their midfield's young, which is by good quality. Their forward line's potato. Their back line's potato. Even Core is their probably best, and he's a potato. So, we should. No disrespect.
The last time you called players potatoes, they knocked us off.
Yeah.
We
played like fun. Worse than potatoes.
Agree with the comments in the chat about being on the rebound. You would like to think there's been a serious message sent to the players after that game with what's on the line in terms of the season, and that they need to come out and actually show some serious intent and get the job done efficiently and swiftly. But you see teams often will turn up against North thinking that it's going to happen, EJ, and then they shit the bed for a half. And, we've obviously shown that we've struggled to hold a lead. I'd hate to see if it was the other way around, if they put a lead on us and we had to reel it back in if we just thought it was going to happen.
Oh, geez. I don't know. At the moment, I don't know if I could back us in like Collingwood scraped over the line on the weekend. Gee, weren't we all cheering for the Roos?
Yes, we were.
Yeah. Look, I think it's a danger game too. And the only reason I think it's a danger game is because we could seriously lose control of the centre without Nank and Soldo. I know some people said Nank may be back or whatever. Mitchell Scott put out a couple of tweets, and I saw Nick saying that he reckons Ross is back. Mitchell Scott, the guy that used to work at SEN, mad Richmond supporter. Nank doubtful, Lynch out, Dusty misses again, Soldo out. If Boulder gets through training, yes. If Cochin gets a surgeon's tick, yes. Ross out. Lambert Achilles.
Yeah, that Peter Burgess thing, he said that popped up too. So that's like a medium-term injury.
Yeah. So, look, our ins at a minimum should be Vlosten and Gibcus. And we'd hope that we get Bolter and Koch as well.
And then
now they sort of cover off Soldo, Nank and Lynch. Do we bring the kid Ryan in out of necessity?
You have to.
Goldstein's a beast. He will obliterate us.
Ryan. No, not
I will not have anyone try and say he doesn't deserve a game from his St Kilda debut, because that was not a fair measurement to go off.
No. My opinion is I don't think he's going to get crucified for this, and it's not me hating on a kid. I defend Richmond no matter what. But I have seen nothing that changes my view, and I've seen a lot of him in the VFL this year. I don't think he's got the tank to play AFL football. Not yet, anyway. And I won't say will he develop the tank, I don't know. But he hasn't got the tank to play AFL football. He's just getting our VFL ready to play a full game of the VFL.
Let's say hypothetically, EJ, that Samson Ryan doesn't come in for whatever reason. Who rucks? Because really, it all rests on. But then, do you want?
Miller.
I know
Miller.
Someone put Miller in there. Bolter. Yeah. This sounds really stupid because if he's fit to play, he's fit to play. But I would be nervous at him being explosive all around the ground for 4 quarters after coming off.
You don't enter Ferraris in demolition derbies.
Yeah. Put Marlon Pickett, put Camden McIntosh. I don't care who you put in there. It's for one game against. We know we're going to lose to Goldstein if we've got no 2 rucks. Just load up with mids in that centre clearance and get the ball.
I was just seeing something. I want to see if I can trigger Tiggs. Where's that comment? Ben Schoenfelder. Tiggs, should we get Parker back in over Arts and Castagna?
No, thank you. No. Look, I'm done with the older types. I reckon we just, mate, if we don't make finals or we lose a fight, I prefer to play the kids, mate. It's not about this year for me. It's next year, the year after. Marte, perfect. I didn't put Marte in. Ryan, for me, does not have a tank to play AFL. Anyone watch a lot of him, agree with me or disagree? That's seen a lot of him. Don't say you haven't if you haven't. But I think he does it because he's good early, but then he makes dumb decisions while he's fucking exhausted, which happens. When I'm exhausted, I make stupid decisions. I don't think he's there.
There might be an element of that that's true, but there's also an element where it just may be necessary to have a few people put it in the chat that we're obviously going to have to try and shark off Goldstein like we did that. I think we did against Nick Nat a few years ago as well, to Grundy. But we had different mids then. So if we don't have the cattle in there to do it, it's not going to work. And, Larky kicked 5 goals in the weekend when they were on top and they were moving the ball freely. He was a danger at forward, and that goes for any big key forward. So we've got to make sure we don't let that happen either.
Well, look, if he gets a crack good onto the kid, and I'll be barracking for him hard. But, look, and I haven't really factored in Marted's influence with him. But, let's hope he because I want him to succeed. But, for me, I'd go and make shit. I'll go and make shift. What can we exploit after the tap? That's what I'd be doing.
Yeah, well, in that case, I'd probably lean to Miller.
Yeah. Just someone strong enough to wrestle with him.
Yeah.
That's what I'd be looking for. Someone strong enough to wrestle with him. And then, what can we get a dividend the other side?
Yeah, it's definitely a conundrum. So who are the other ins you had down, EJ? Who'd we say? So Vlosten's going to obviously walk back in. Gibcus is clear. He'll be... And I think that if Gibcus and Bolter play, then that does make Miller a viable option to do that, because we're not then too overloaded down back. We've sort of freed up someone else up the ground. So that could actually work if those guys all come through. And then Miller and Bolter can alternate where needed.
Yeah, Bolter doing sort of, 5-10 minutes a quarter, and Miller doing the most of it, because we don't want to bang Bolter up too much.
No, exactly right.
Yeah, so if we're making the changes of Vlosten, Gibcus, Bolter, and Cochin, if he's available, and you're taking out Soldo, Nank, and Lynch, one more's got to come out. We know it's going to be one of the two sacrificial lambs, Arts or Castagna. If one has to stay in, Tiggs, which one's staying in?
No, I'll take both of them out and just replace one of them with Sonzi. I'll take both of them out and place one of them with Sonzi. I'm going to die on my sword with this. I'm going to literally die. Or even fucking RCD. Put a recognised mid in that, get him educated now. Regardless of form. Get him educated. No more hybrids. Get them educated. Play to them to their strength.
I would keep, if I had to pick out of the two, I'd keep Arts in, because he had, I think it was 5 or 6 tackles.
Yeah.
If you had to go off something, I would value that.
And he had 10 contested possessions as well. He's
actually, as much as people hate to acknowledge it or admit it, he's actually refined his role in the VFL reasonably well. He's had to find and add strings to his bow to give himself half a chance to play. And your point is still relevant, EJ, that if we didn't have injuries, they wouldn't be playing. It wouldn't have been an issue. But him adding those strings to his bow makes him more serviceable when he does come in.
Yeah. No, I heard the same. As you, Glenn, but I just figured just to reinforce your point. Yeah, but we need to go a recognised mid. We just have to do it. It's doing my head in. Do you want me to get into the trade? We've got 8 minutes. Do you want me to get into the trade stuff now?
No. What about some of the key matchups? We'll go through some key matchups quickly. Larky, as I said, kicked 5 goals on the weekend, and is Tarrant the man for him? It's going to be interesting to see how Tarrant goes playing against his former side, actually.
Oh, I'm waiting just for Poetry to go and see CJ if he gets in. So the bloke that's come to
Richmond,
the swap. The bloke that's gone to, that'd be my take.
Yeah, that'd be good. What about you, EJ? Who takes Larky, and then even Zerha for that matter as well? Zeeble down, he's pretty dangerous.
Sorry, what was the last one?
And Zeeble has proved to be a bit dangerous down forward as well at times. Oh, he's got the coughs. He's got the coughs.
The COVID.
Apologies, I'm still struggling. Zerha's pretty big, so I'd probably look at a broader Grimes for Zerha. He's pretty mobile too, and both of those guys can sort of do that. We'll have Vlosten in the hole finally, which will be good. Back. Larky, I'd start with Tarrant, but yes, Grock saying I would definitely have Grimes as the backup to Tarrant.
Tiggs, would you roll with that?
I'd roll with that.
And then I suppose the midfield battle. I mean, surely we're going to have the wood over them there. I know our mids haven't been firing too much of a shot all year, but what do we need to do to make sure that they don't get on top of us? Because if they get on top of us in that area, then all hope is lost.
Look, their Achilles heel, which is a huge one, you apply pressure to north, they'll turn it over, all parts of the ground. And then they're generally out of position, you score against them. That's their problem, as I see it, from the couple of north games that I've seen. Our midfield's just got to have to apply pressure. The whole team, but the midfield specifically, get them to do that risky kick. That risky kick inside the midfield, they'll mistime it more often than not. and you do that mark, and then you're running straight into goal. That's generally how they're getting split apart. And perfect example was that they'll do really well against Collingwood. They'll doing the safe kick, utilising their hands so they wouldn't turn it over, and then they got away from that, and then they started trying to create play. And as soon as they're not at that level yet, they gave the ball back way too easily and they score.
Yeah. We feast on turnover.
Yeah,
we create turnover. Their structure when they get caught on the hop is terrible. You're right. So we should be able to. Yeah, and a couple of people have said that LDU on the weekend was insane.
He was unbelievable. He had 13 or 14 clearances or something. I think
phenomenal. He had 9 Brownlow votes by 3/4 time.
Yeah. What made him mad, your supporter Robert, he says he plays one good game every 8-10 games.
No, he's been more consistent this year.
Yeah.
But he's going to have potentially Goldie putting it down his throat with no real, opposition. So we've got to have to be mindful of that too.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get was there anything else to add before we get a tip and margin?
And 3-2-1 for last week.
Oh yes.
Are we not bothering with the votes?
No, we've got to give one. You go first, EJ, or Mix.
You guys can. I won't because I haven't watched it. Wouldn't be fair. So who was your 3-2?
3 votes Bolton, 29 disposals, 551 metres gained, 18 contested possessions, 8 clearances, 3 goals, 3. Yes, he did run out of puff, but he was unbelievable. 2 votes Rioli, 31 disposals, 471 metres gained, 77% disposal efficiency, 12 contested possessions and 9 intercepts. And as a few others have said, Tarrant was really good. Yeah, there was an error late, but 14 disposals, 10 intercepts, 7 contested possessions, and 86% disposal efficiency. He can have the 1 vote. He was pretty good.
I'm similar to yours, but I've flipped it, funny enough, and I'll explain why. I gave 3 to Rioli. The reason why is contested nature of his game. He's starting to develop that extra layer into his game, which I really, really applauded. Plus, he's now starting to gather possession. I know he's had his 26s, 24s, but it's becoming now a consistent level, and that's what you need from elite halfbacks. That was something that Hawley could not do. Hawley could not get you 30s consistently. I'm hoping with the contested possession that he has. I'm probably going to get corrected with stats. I'm just going off my eye test here, but Daniel Rioli is showing that trait, and it's not sacrificing his ability to score involvements or kicking inside 50. So I loved his game. It was brilliant. And it was one of the rare ones that didn't drop off.
He had 7 score involvements.
Yeah. And he's
Castagna had 8, by the way.
Pardon?
Castagna had 8.
Yeah, good on him. And he didn't drop off. It was one of the rare ones that did not drop off towards the end of the game. So that's why I gave him 3. Bolton was immense, absolutely immense. I'm only giving him 2 because I reckon, which is freaky, he's got a higher ceiling to reach. You know what I mean? That was a special game, though. It was brilliant. And, 1 for me is Tarrant. I'm now starting to warm to him being as a pick. He's just got to learn our game plan and systems because I 100% him not kicking the ball backwards or something, that I don't know what he was thinking as a defender of his experience and skill set. But, I was pleased with his game.
And we've got to give a shout out to Hugo Rolfsmith for securing the Rising Star nomination for this week. So well done, Hugo. That long flowing mullet is, he's coming along well. He's not one of those players where he might make a few mistakes a game because he's trying to attack, but you can see he's learning. He breaks the lines. He has a crack, and I would rather see him keep backing himself and learn from them and just get better at his craft. But well done, Hugo. Very well deserved. Do you reckon he's going to be giving Gibcus shit, saying, "Hey, buddy, I got one before you"? Surely,
I reckon he was giving it because if Gibcus had played and had 2 disposals, they would have given it to Gibcus. But because he wasn't on, they just given the token Richmond bloke to shut us up. That's what because his game was okay, but it wasn't Rising Star worthy. That's why it's a joke of war.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but there was an article during the week pointing out the fact that we hadn't had a Rising Star nom for some ridiculous amount of time, 3 years or something, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, the week of the article, it pops up. Come on.
We'll get a quick tip for this game against North, and then Tiggs, you can finish off with the name you heard. So, EJ, tip for this one, including margin?
Oh, Tigers, I suppose. I'd like to say 10 goals, but I think I'll just stick with 37 points.
Tigs?
Yeah. Tigers 28.
I'll say Tigers by 19. So fingers crossed. Just 4 points and just
Let's
a
move on.
solid performance will do us fine.
All right. So I'm
I've
eager to do this. I'm conscious with time.
got 8 minutes before my laptop resets with the.
Yeah. All right. Just a couple of quick caveats here. I haven't had time. My work, I've been slammed. We've got a lot of staff sick and COVID and all this sort of stuff. So I haven't had the time to find the YouTube clip that was on this program. It was early in the year where I said the below when I was asked, who are we targeting this year, Tiggs? And it might have even been before the season started. One of the first shows said, and I said, we're going to shake the GWS tree because we've identified we really want green, but there's a chance we can shake out either Hopper or Taranto. I don't think we'll get Taranto because of the money. This is how I've got a pretty good recollection on this, but, green is the one that we want, but we'll see how we go. And then I updated it further, but early on in the year, when I heard from my mate who's always reliable, green is more than likely to stay than not stay, and we switched to Hopper. So, and it was amazing. I caught a podcast from someone linked it to me from Sam Edmund. He basically ripped that word for word. And no, it's not the podcast that was done in June 30th. It's before then. So if one of you guys want to do a hobby for me and go through all the podcasts and you hear it, let me know. Let me know. All right. So, thank you, Brian. Yeah, we'll do, mate. You've got Harry. Yeah, mate, the love I get from here, you've got to get one. All right. So I'm hearing what I heard, and I got an update on Sunday. And it's funny. It's for me is that Hopper's more likely than unlikely. I still don't think Taranto. We might look. I'm not saying we're not interested in Taranto. We are getting a mid from GWS. I got told that. Yeah, we put too much work into GWS to not make something happen. So I'm going to lead again to safety. But if it changes, I'll update it as it does. But Hopper, I think, is going to be a more realistic target. Even though, from what I'm hearing, that he's the target they're more chasing to keep than Taranto because of the salary cap issues. Obviously, he's on a lot less. But even in saying that, Taranto would be a fantastic get. But again, to me, he's a hybrid. He's not a full-blown inside mid. But the name that no one's broken yet, and I want to make sure I've got a few right, Harry. Thank you very much, bud. The one that no one's spoken about that I'm pretty bullish on, that you'll hear it in the media, it will break, right? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but we're putting work on, is a forward from Adelaide. His name's Darcy Fogarty. Right, I've heard this. I've heard this now in the off season. I said, no, he re-signed a year and a bit ago. His contract's running at June 2023. And I said, and the mate that I know that's never wrong. This is the thing you'll find out, Harry. The reason I gave names like Hartlett and others way before anybody else is because he would know. You're going to have to, Andrew. If it happens, if it doesn't, I'm hearing his name. That's someone that was seriously inquired about. We believe he'd be a perfect Phillip in our forward line. And once we recruited that kid in the mid-season, it's even made me more convinced that what I've heard is right because he's sort of like a Darcy Fogarty type. So who knows? Watch his space. Beautiful. The reason why I've been told we like him, one, he's having issues at Adelaide, major issues at Adelaide. And it's not because of his talent, right? There are issues at that club. We believe we can get him to respond with our culture, the way we play and how we act.
And they're signing on text. So I feel like they're not showing, and they're signing on text, aren't they? As if they're not showing in him.
Yeah, but he's got traits we like. He's a good quality leader. He's a good shot. He's a booming kick, and he has that mongrel component. And we believe with the right, if he gets fully invested, it'd be a good thing. And it's similar. Now, this is the gossip part of it. I know the name's right. The gossip part of I heard that went under Ivan Maric, is a big has helped us in spiking this interest too about how our club differs and how Melbourne playing at Melbourne is. So I reckon. Look, I don't mind it. I reckon actually, all players that are cemented at a club and that are young can come with knocks, but I reckon he's got a huge upside if developed correctly. So yeah, it is that name. Now there's one other player which I won't break till the trade show because else we won't have any fucking content. But but yeah, we're definitely getting a mid, guys. Don't think this, mate. We're hunting for mids. We've, in my opinion, dropped the ball last year. And the year before, we went forwards, key position players, and then we went flankers and runners. This year, with one mid, I reckon, we're definitely going mid.
Have to. It's almost a non-negotiable. Otherwise, we're up shit creek. If we don't get more help in, like you said before earlier on, we need the young brigade to come through. That's probably a bit older than the younger guys we've got now, but not as old as the older guys. So we just need that real mid-ranged aged player.
Thank you for the correction, Damien. You're spot on, mate. Sorry, I've got a bit of a head cold. So yeah, but you're right. So, yeah, Ivan. Yeah, Big Ivan had a bit of a thing to say. Oh yeah, we will. Yeah, we will, Glenn. Yeah, we will. Dusty's not going anywhere, Battle. I can tell you, mate, it's not. I'm not changing. Won't be going anywhere.
Very good. All right, so Darcy Fogarty is a name that may break in the media. Yeah. Just to clarify again, because, Tiggs puts his balls on the line, so props to him first and foremost, but he didn't say that we're going to get him. He said it's a name of interest. And as has happened more often than not, if there's been a name he said that there's interest in, has usually come out one way or another, and that he doesn't say it because we're going to get him, but Hartlett come out years after, didn't even hit the media. He came out and said in an interview post his football that he was close to signing with the Tigers. So there's runs on the board, but yeah, we'll definitely be watching that space with interest.
And just again, guys, for the new ones, I don't self-promote that. I'm fortunate in a position to have a few friends that I've grown up with, and also in business circles that I get this knowledge, and I always just share what I hear. I don't care if you believe it or you don't believe it. It is what it is. You either. But the difference with me is, if I believe it's true, I'll share it. If I don't believe it's true, I won't. Baker's not going anywhere. Battle. Rioli, I'm not worried. But I want him fucking signed because from what I'm hearing. But I've said that a while ago.
Shit time to change manager.
Yeah, I'm a bit worried. I said I wasn't worried now, so I'm a bit worried. But, I want him signed.
Yeah,
I'm never on the fence, Glenn. I never try to be anyway. I just try to be diplomatic.
Thank you, gents, for your time tonight. Thank you so much, Sarah, for tuning in. Make sure you follow us on our socials. Give us a subscribe on YouTube, like on Facebook, Twitter, whatever you're watching us on. We always appreciate the love and support. And we'll be back again on Monday. So thank you, EJ. Thank you, Tiggs, for coming on tonight. So, Grok, hope you're feeling better, mate. And I think CB had a cricket do on. So that's where he was.
Lauren, just on that, I'm not. I know. All we've heard from him. This is like a bank. Take this to the bank. Is that we've been told that he's super keen to stay at GWS, but a lot of this rides, and I said this before, Cameron, a lot of this rides to the coaching change, right? So, look, never say never, but I don't think Green will happen now. I think it's too long in the tooth. But, yeah, it depends who they choose as a coach. He's going to have a big say on a lot of this.
Very good. All right, thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Much appreciated. I agree, Glenn. I want a happier show next week as well. Hopefully we get the full.
Oh, we will. We
can all have a laugh, and it'd be much nicer. But look, it is
a good win.
Pies had a good win. Jeez. The footy's a funny game.
I only can use that for this year because obviously I'm not renewing the membership. But
we hope everyone enjoyed the group therapy session. We all got a bit off our chest. Hopefully, you had a bit of a laugh as well. And we'll be back again on Monday to do it all again. So till next time.